Hi everyone, this is one of my masterclass tutorials from the Rascals Education Academy. If you would like to know more about the Academy, click the link in the description or the link in my bio. Thank you and enjoy. Alright, okay, so it's Will, isn't it? Yeah, so with Will's hair today, obviously he's came in, it's super overgrown, so what we're going to do is just take this right down again. When he came in, he kind of had his fringe flicking up a little bit and just really textured throughout. So we're just going to make it a much shorter version of that. So nice and short from the back going forward and leaving a tiny little bit more length on the fringe so that he can flick it up. We're going to go with like a low fade, but instead of like dropping it towards the back, we're just going to keep the fade just running round straight. So it's going to be a little bit higher on the back and nice and low at the front. So yeah, loads of texture on the top. So we're going to be doing some point cutting. We're going to be doing some dry point cutting as well. But yeah, it's going to look good. We're going to start off on profile section, which is a section running through the middle of the head. The section is about a finger's width. So I like to use either side of the nose as a guideline. And I always like to start just by checking out the shape of the head, where the highest point of the head is, where the length is in his hair at the minute. So you can see it's a little bit longer towards the back there, a little bit of disconnection. So we're going to start at the back, going quite short, and we're going to be point cutting throughout. So with point cutting, I like to cut at a 45-degree angle. Like I say, trying to create these little triangles in the hair. So those different lengths in the hair is what is going to create the texture. So we want to keep a little bit more length in the fringe. So we're just going to over direct that slightly. And we're going to keep half of that section and we're going to pull half of that section out the way. And then we're going to take another small section and we're going to pull that into our guideline. An easy way to not cut your fingers when you're point cutting is to have the bottom blade running along your finger as you're cutting. So we're going to keep following the same section and pattern from the middle all the way down the side of his head, following your guideline. And then we're going to repeat the process along the right side of his head as well. So now we've worked through a profile section, we're just going to quickly cross-check just to make sure all the length is even. And when we cross-check, we're point cutting as well, because we don't want to take out any of that texture that we've just put in. So this doesn't need to be super clean sectioning, we're just flying through it just to make sure it's even. So with Will having so much hair, his hair is super thick. So the way we've cut it on the top is that it has a square shape because we've left the corners heavier by doing the profile section. But because he's got so much hair, we don't want too much weight on that side. So I am going to round it off a little bit in the corners. Not completely, we're not taking it completely round. We're just taking that little bit of an edge off so that there's not too much weight in the hair. Still point and cutting all the way through. And we're going to repeat that on the right side as well. We'll just tilt your head for a minute. Okay, great. So to go through the back and the crown area, we're going to take some of the hair that we've just cut from the top and we're going to pull that back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that as a guideline to follow through the back of the head. So if you wanted to keep more weight on the back of the head, you would be bringing this section up, which would be creating more weight around the back. But Will has a lot of hair and we don't want to keep too much of that weight, so we're going to cut it round. So we're just going to follow the shape of his head. Same again, point cut, trying to create these little triangles in the hair. And we're going to follow the shape of his head. And we're going to take half of that section. We're going to comb it out the way, and then we're going to create a new section. Pull that in to what we've just cut. And we're just going to follow this all the way around the side of his head. Lovely. And then we're just going to repeat that on the other side as well. Great. Now we're just going to cross-check through the back. Just making sure all the length that we just cut is the same. So we're just going to reduce some of the weight in the side of his head, so there's less work for it to do when we're doing our clipper work. So we're using block graduation here. We're going to go nice and tight to the bottom of his head. We're just going to take off all this length. We don't have to worry about going too tight here because we're going to be doing a skin fade, so all this hair is going to be coming off anyways. We just want to make the shape a little bit easier to cut into when we're using our clippers. And we're just going to repeat that on the other side of his head. Now I just want to connect the top into the sides. So I'm going to section the fringe off just so it's out the way. And what we're going to do is just work from back to front, and we're just going to connect in this excess weight by using block graduation. I'm going to pull that straight out. We're not going to be pulling the section down because then that's going to be leaving too much weight. So we're going to pull the section up and out straight. We're going to point cut this as well. Just going to follow that all the way along. I don't want to keep any weight towards the front, so I'm just going to follow the same process all the way along. Pulling the section up. Right, so we're going to section the fringe out the way. And then we're going to use block graduation all the way along, just to remove this excess weight on the sides. Pulling the section up. We're not pulling the section down, because if we pull the section down, there's going to be too much weight. We want it to connect into the sides without any additional weight. So we're just going to take a little bit of weight out the top. We're going to do scissor over comb using my thinning scissors, and we're going to start at the crown. I'm going to go about a third of the way down the hair, and once again on the ends. We'll comb the hair down, just repeat. We don't want to take loads off the fringe. I'm just going to take a little bit of length off and adding a bit of texture using the feather and razor. So we want to make sure that we've got plenty of tension on the hair, and we want to be nice and soft with a razor, and we're going to start a little bit higher and just work our way down. Again, get plenty of tension. What we're going to do is just wait for our guideline to just pop out the bottom there, and do the same again. I'm going to add a little bit of salt spray, just for some texture and volume on the top. And when we're drying it, we're just going to be pretty rough. We're not even going to use a nozzle. And we're just going to work our hands through it, create loads of texture. I'm going to leave the fringe a little bit dry because I'm going to use a brush and we're going to flick the fringe up. So I'm using a vent brush. Vent brushes are the ones with the holes in. So the reason for that is it has less tension because the air can flow through the brush better. So that means it's not going to be as tough to pull through the hair, so it's going to be a little bit more of a gentle shape through the front. So we're going to start with a 2.5 guard. We're going to put the top line in, and then we're going to come back through and we're going to put the bottom line in. Again, we're not using the comb to drag the hair into the clippers. We're just guiding the hair into the clippers. We don't want to put too much tension on the hair. And then we're just going to flick out gently after as well. This will just make that top line a little bit softer and a little bit easier to blend out. So now we've put the 2.5 guard in across the top, and now I'm just going to flick a little bit of this weight out using me 3 guard. And this is just to make that top line just a little bit softer. Also means we've got less work to do when it comes to doing clipper over comb and scissor over comb. Now I'm going to put my bottom line in, so I'm going to keep it nice and low towards the front, and as we go back it's going to be a little bit higher. So it's going to be a pretty straight line around the back of his head. So We're going to descend down, so we're going to start at the top and work our way down. I'm starting with my 1.5 guard open. .5 guard closed. One guard open. One guard closed. You can normally tell after you've done like your one guard what the fade's going to be like. With fades, I never try and get them perfect the first time round. I work through my guards first and just get the lines out, and then I come back round and I refine it. So right now, I'm just concentrating on getting the bulk of the work done. So now I'm on my no guard. Trying to be very light with the no guard. Trying to just flick that bottom line out. Trying not to go too high. I'm almost just holding the clippers very lightly in my fingers, and I'm just trying to flick through it. I don't have much of a grip on the clippers. I'm just trying to flick it through. So now we've done the bulk of the work, we're just going to go back to the top and just refine the fade. So I'm back on my 1.5 guard open. So now we're just taking a little bit of weight out of the top line using scissor over comb. We've already used regards to go through this, so it's not really taking much length off, we're just refining the shape, refining the fade. Now we're just going to point cut any little dark spots that I think I need to go into. Now I'm just taking a little bit of a step back, just so I can see if there is any imperfections in the haircut. When you're right up close, it is really hard to see any imperfections, whereas if you can just step back and just take a bit of a look, you'll be able to see any imperfections a little bit easier. Alright, so we're going to line out his temple. We're going to be very careful not to go in too deep to his hairline. He's got a very good natural C cup, so we just want to make that stand out a little bit more. And we're just going to finish it off. Just going around with the cutthroat. Notice I haven't got loads of tension, just pulling the skin a little bit. And now I'm just going to repeat what I did on this side on the other side as well. Okay, so now we've repeated the fading process on the right hand side. We've just got this little bit in the middle at the back of the head that we're going to blend in to both sides, and then we're going to do a little bit of styling after. So again, 1.5 guard, open. And then closed. One guard, open. One guard closed. .5 guard, open. Closed. No guard, closed. Open. Yeah, so now we've went through it with regards. We're just gonna use the corner of my neck trimmer just to scratch out any little lines that might still be there. What I like to do is I like to look in the mirror to see if there's any imperfections in the fade, and then I can correct it. But I had to write down. Okay, so now we're going to finish off with a little bit of styling. I really like the way that his hair's sitting now. When I've blow dried it, I really like how the fringe is sitting. So I'm going to put a little bit of styling powder on, but I'm just going to be very careful with it not to disrupt the shape too much. And what I like to do with the fade after, especially for content, just to make the fade look a little bit cleaner, always make sure to comb out your fade. Just in case when you've been running your hands through with the products, you've pulled any of the hairs out of place. That should smooth the fade out a little bit. Just till you hit the side, bro. Alright, so what I've done with his hair is, I've wanted to keep his fringe pretty similar to what it was when he came in. He had it kind of coming forward and then just flicking up. And we've just made it a much shorter version of that. But we went for a low skin fade. I've kept it really low at the front, but rather than dropping the back down, I've just wrapped the fade kind of like straight round, so it's a little bit higher at the back and a little bit shorter. Yeah, so we've just done a very modern quiff. Yeah, thank you for watching and hope to see you at the next one.